we talk about the energy of possibility, the potential, that's how creation moves forward. It's from the seed of potentiality. You have to see that something's possible in order to manifest it or to make it happen.
This idea of the ability to experience the duality of emotions, grief and profound loss and pain, and joy, love, and connection has been the most profound. Helping people understand that it is okay to grieve, that a loss is loss. It's individual.
You could be any age and you could be any life experience, and this is probably speaking to you at a deep level.
And we're healers, but we can't help others to heal unless we've healed ourselves.
You want to choose to stay in your trauma? That's a choice. You want to choose to grow and evolve and learn and heal? That's a choice. And no shame on whatever lane you choose, but something bigger than you can only be born if you're willing to choose the growth path.
We are multidimensional beings, and we are more powerful than we can possibly imagine. And it's a choice that we make to step into that power and to have the courage to let go of generational patterns of shame and fear. No one gets to tell me what my grief looks like. I felt like that was happening at a certain point, and I had to say, hold on a minute, this is my journey.
Once you can feel like you're not terminally unique, the idea and the possibilities open up in the most profound ways. I'm Neal Tricarico, and my wife, Samara, and I are grateful you're here for this unique podcast experience. We share the story of the loss of our son, Anthony, the movement that has grown out of the unimaginable grief, and the legacy we're building so that no teen ever feels this alone or lost again. We're here to give parents the resources to support their children and the communities around them, because it truly takes a tribe.
The Endurant Show is a testament to post-traumatic growth, the belief that even in the aftermath of deep grief, healing and purpose can emerge. It's a space for truth, connection, and hope, where real conversations around mental health, autism, suicide prevention, and resilience take center stage.
Healing doesn't always start with a diagnosis. It often starts with being heard, and we've created a community just for that.
Each episode, we sit down with teens, parents, experts, and advocates to share honest stories, tools, and resources. Because we believe that awareness is the cure, you don't have to hold your grief alone, and you don't have to run from it.
Through these conversations, we're building a community grounded in understanding, support, and lasting change. If you've ever felt alone, unheard, or unsure of how to keep going, this space is for you.
Hello, my name is DavidJi, and welcome to another episode of the Endurant Movement podcast. In our earlier episodes, we explored the true origin story of Anthony Tricarico and how he has guided us from his devastating suicide to being reborn to his final death, and launched the Endurant Movement. And through his parents, Neal and Samara Tricarico, we've been able to reach out to teens and parents and those struggling on the spectrum of autism and just struggling with life in general. And so in episode 1 of this process, we really dove deep into that. In episode 2, we took it to a higher level where Neal and Samara, after Anthony's death, started experiencing and seeing signs that Anthony perhaps was communicating with them at a higher level. And this sparked so many aspects of the Endurant Movement. And in this episode, we're going to talk even more deeply about what the Endurant Movement is, how you can participate, how you can heal from it and what this process even looks like. So I'm here with Neal and Samara.
Hey, DavidJi.
Hello, welcome today. And so maybe we could talk about, there was a moment where suddenly both on your individual grieving paths and going through very, very personal and individual experiences in the aftermath of Anthony taking his life, inspired you to move in very interesting directions. In my early conversations with Neal, as he was going through this process, he was like, I'm being called to speak to parents and survivors and to help people move from post-traumatic stress to this post-traumatic growth and thrive in the aftermath of tragedy and unexpected circumstances. And Samara was just as clear in her vision was, we need to get to the teens. We need to speak to parents about their teens, and we need to get into the schools, and we need to really infuse some of these powerful teachings and understandings before things get dicey. And so I don't want to distill it down to, the before and the after, but both of you had such different visions of how you would do your own personal healing and how you would share that with others and how they could benefit from that. So maybe you'd like to share from the pre-side. I know my language is not very articulate here, but that's how I always saw it. It's like the before, and then you were the after, perhaps, in terms of guidance, and Endurant is really a convergence of both of those.
Yeah, it's been an exchange of the masculine, feminine energy, the feminine having the creative spark and the masculine creating the safety and the container for the feminine to express itself. And so we've both provided both of them at different times. And so it's been a beautiful dance of this emergence of masculine and feminine energy creating the movement. So it may have started from a spark of creativity. So for example, Neal envisioning a program, and then I'm creating the website, and then vice versa. Okay, the website is there, and now Neal's seeing this new container and I'm filling it with creative inspiration. And so he's saying, yeah, how about events and programs? And I'm having inspiration for a day of healing. And so I can create that and so it's been this beautiful dance of creating into a safe space that can then be shared.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would also suggest or offer that there wasn't like a moment or a decision per se that we were going to do the Endurant movement. I believe in every fiber of my being that through a combination of Anthony and his spirit team, both with him and here, we are being guided along. And I believe that with every fiber of my being. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I've tried to build various businesses. You come up with an idea, you build a business plan around it, you build a launch plan, and then you see what the market says, and you hope that they see the same things you see. In this, it's been just a guidance from youth and teens, angels here on earth, and Anthony. And so I have this sense of almost like I'm showing up on a team that we're getting direction from in terms of almost like puzzle pieces. And then this fits into what Samara is saying. Then we're taking those puzzle pieces that are being given to us and doing our best to see how they fit. And then what happens is wherever we get stuck or we're not sure how a certain piece fits, some one of you come from wherever you are and they're like, oh yeah, I see this piece. It goes right here like this. So I think I'm tracking with everything that's being said here. The only thing I would offer is I personally don't feel like it's something we decided, and then like, let's act on and see. Like, it's being led through us. The only thing that I feel like has come close to a decision is the birth of the name. The Endurant Movement is born out of, our daughter, Belina, and her and another one of Anthony's friends, Saxon. I think as the story goes, Saxon shared with Belina, hey, we should have mental health clubs at our high school. Imagine that. Like, they don't exist anyways. So they decided to do it. And she says, oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. We should call it Endurant. And we were like, Endurant? Like, it's a word I think we've all heard before, but maybe we've questioned, is it a real word? Is it not a word? It is, in fact, a word. And it's capable of overcoming adversity or hardship. So I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And it makes so much sense. And then, of course, selfishly, it includes ant, which is what Anthony went by.
I would call that beautifully, it includes ant.
Yeah, beautifully.
Not selfishly,
but beautifully it includes ant. And it's actually the ant in each of these statements that is the opportunity for that growth, that spiritual transformation, that breakthrough, if you will. The ant of something, you could have endurance, but endurant means you are capable of overcoming
the quality
adversity.
of being whatever adjective you're using there.
Right. And it shouldn't be lost on anyone that ant is how Anthony named himself and preferred to be referred to.
This is true.
So
officially on all the school documents and everything.
Walked himself into the administrative
office. Which is why we wear these beautiful pins to represent, and that's the perfect logo, and why the single ants being seen as signs are so core.
And that was a step too in the solidification of the movement, is the branding. And from our friend Britt, who also felt a calling, a way to contribute, and was able to take a lot of our messaging and ideas and translate it into imagery and icons and a branding, image and logo and coloring and all of that can help to relay that message, the black and white, lavender being one of his favorite colors, or a color that we associate with him, a color of spirituality. There's a lot of deep meaning and significance that's gone into the brand. And I think when I observed what Britt created, I was moved to tears. I felt very connected to it, and felt that it was Anthony's spirit working through her to show me how it was possible. And we talk about the energy of possibility, the potential. That's how creation moves forward. It's from the seed of potentiality. You have to see that something's possible in order to manifest it or to make it happen. So that really, for me, wasn't one moment. And that was a significant moment when Britt showed us what she came up with. And I could see it. I could see how this message, this vision could be rooted in a brand that could be communicated and shared and, brought out to a greater, larger community than the one that was already established.
Right. The work that you're doing is so powerful. Whether or not the secret words hidden in, the actual name of the movement. But clearly, as you've just said, Anthony's spirit continues to guide you, to help you make strategic decisions and creative decisions. And what is he calling you to do right now? Where do you see this movement going? Who's it going to touch, and who's it going to help? And who is it helping right now? Because it's helping as it continues to vision.
Yeah, it's helping those of us that are involved in volunteering, in getting involved in sharing and spreading words of encouragement and awareness about mental health issues, about autism and suicide, It's also an invitation and a platform for teens to talk about what matters to them, what's really significant and important, and challenges that they're facing, and how they can support one another. We've come to learn that they really don't want to talk to us as parents and the older generations. They want to confide in one another. Awesome. So we're leaning into empowering them to have a voice, to have ways of supporting each other, to help fuel that movement and the momentum in the teen, the youth, the young adult space.
Yeah, I mean, if I might piggyback off that, the experience that I'm having under Anthony's leadership with this, again, is much like Anthony was here in life. It was like, hey, we can impact much more than you think you're capable of. So stretching us in many ways. So this idea of the ability to experience the duality of emotions, grief and profound loss and pain and joy, love and connection, has been the most profound. This is the space where we're hearing from people the most. And mostly it's in private messages and DMs, those stories we've shared about, oh my gosh, this has helped me with my own grief facing X, or this has helped me, understand that, life is worth living. Or if I just focus on the suffering, I'm missing this whole aspect of life. And I think it's very hard because it is uniquely Anthony, that it's not just one thing. It's like this, and this. But helping people understand that it is okay to grieve, that a loss is loss. It's individual. Yes, maybe in some ways this is a parent's worst nightmare, to lose their child and to lose their child in this way. But I can share with you, and I will spare you the details, examples of others who, if you're going to keep a scoreboard of loss is more unimaginable than our own. Or for folks who feel like when they share with me, oh, gosh, our house burned down in the Altadena fires, but it's not at all like losing a child. Like, I encourage them, your loss, your trauma is profound, and your loss of everything that you've acquired, known, your memories, your life, your certainty, your day-to-day, that's a huge traumatic loss. And to have the opportunity to experience and heal from that loss, to grieve, to have emotion, to allow your community to truly love on you, to not minimize that loss. That work seems so profound from Anthony. So too does the work with teens, but in the most interesting and unexpected way potentially is, we were blessed to kind of pick up with this opportunity to get into schools. But what we quickly, maybe not so quickly, but over the past few months have realized is the schools don't necessarily want it, or the school districts. There's a lot of red tape and bottlenecking, and people shared this with us, but we were like, oh no, they're not, they're not, they haven't seen loss or suicide. But imagine one school lost 3 kids in 1 year, and very little has changed for them. The focus is constantly on being the best school district, getting the best grades. There's no awards or tracking of how many kids survived the year. But you know what? The kids are worried about that. They're thinking about that when they invite us into the schools to talk with them. They don't want to see their friends die. They understand that tests and all these things are a part of life, but why so much pressure? Why such a concentration of all this pressure at these points? And why not any education around mental health, about balance, about self-care? So what we're really, really excited about in this show is created the opportunity for is the big breakthrough with that is we don't have to worry about the bottleneck of going through the schools. The outcome is to help the youth. And the youth are communicating with the youth. So through their voices and meeting with them and sharing with them what we want to do and what we want to do with this show, they shared with us how great it would be for them to participate in the show, for them to have their own content and to communicate these things directly peer to peer. So we're on platforms like YouTube and, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify and Apple, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, they're in Instagram communities. And so it was like, oh my gosh, this light bulb went off. It's like, this is the Endurant Show. So half of what we're going to be rolling out across this show is much like this setup, which serves our generation, but it'll be teens speaking to teens, interviewing each other on the topics and in the ways that resonate most with them. I mean, no one is turned away. It's not something you apply for. It's something you enroll for. So we have a young man that wants to do an episode on young men's mental health. He grew up in a home where it wasn't okay to cry, that his dad told him, big boys don't cry. That's had a lot of impact for him. Another young woman wants to do a 4-part series on body shaming, and so we're like, oh my gosh, and they're going to get it to each other where they need it. So outcome hit, we don't have to worry about the schools. And truthfully, there are 3 organizations that are doing well getting into the schools. But now through the efforts and hopefully the sponsorships and the community and friends and family that are getting this started, we're having production meetings with them. Our editing company, Motion Farm, is doing all their work pro bono. So we have production meetings, much like we have for these, help get them set up, edit their videos, get this life-saving content out. And I don't know, that's not something we ever grew up for or studied or trained on. But again, if heart's wide open, eyes are wide open, we're being led. And even, I don't feel it as much as I do with the grief and growth and the teen mental health from Anthony. I don't feel as much as on the autism side, but same kind of thing. Like organizations are showing up. It's like, oh my gosh, you're speaking about the 900-pound gorilla that's in the room. USA Today coming out with an article. So we just feel this compel, if you will, this guidance, again, coming full circle to us talking about entrepreneurship, where you hope the market is interested in what you have to offer. The market is saying we need endurance in high functioning autism and suicide. We need endurance to help these teens. We need endurance to help folks that are going through grief. So the outcome of endurant, capable of overcoming and thriving in these things is something that's being applied in these first areas. But as the years and seasons go, we see ourselves more as the catalyst, more as Anthony's story, more as the jumping off point. But ultimately, it will be others whose sacred storytelling through lived experience gets shared through this mechanism. And that sacred storytelling will impact and save lives.
Yeah, so one of the things that so beautifully put, so eloquently put, I think one of the real unique features of the Endurant movement is the fact that you are speaking to multiple groups of people. And if you're here right now, you could be any age and you could be any life experience. And this is probably speaking to you at a deep level. So we've talked a little bit about the proactivity. If we can, touch all kids and at least send a message to the schools that yes, they probably only get funding when they get certain grade levels. So they can pretty much have these meetings where they say, well, don't worry if we lose a couple along the way, we're still getting the funding because our grades are so high. But a deeper conversation that you have managed to launch is this conversation from post-traumatic stress from a situation like this to post-traumatic growth. And I know this has helped you personally, and that's one of the beautiful aspects of what you two are sharing with the world. You're living this too. You're not just coming up with some theoretical thing and saying, do this. You're actually living it. And it has helped you. The wound is the way, as Elizabeth Winkler says, and you have gone right into that grief wound and through the trauma to get to that growth. And maybe you could speak a little bit about that, because that has been such a healing aspect of your journey as well.
Yeah, for me, quite frankly, it's been life-saving. If I wasn't exposed to these things and these individuals showing up in the way that they have and poured themselves into us, I don't think you could do it. So, my whole journey has been lived experience. And then when it started with those early prayer circles, if you will, and then I kept getting encouraged to keep sharing. It was like, oh, this is helping other people too. And it just reminds me, I've been blessed with mentors throughout my life. And one of my very first mentors, Steve Lashansky, when I asked him, you've impacted my career and life so much, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, how can I pay you back, give back? He said, you'll know at some point in your life, there's an opportunity to pay it forward, and it will become so clear. And with something so catastrophic as the trauma that we've went through, and others too, I feel so clear that this is, I'm living this experience. And if people don't know about it, that this is possible, more of them will wind up on that other side of suffering. And I believe on some level, all of these angels coming to me and pouring themselves in and helping and contributing and donating, even this idea of us being here, so much of this is on donation and contribution. It's happened to share. It's happened to share. Like, I don't know if that's answering your question, but that's what's coming through me. At first, it was self-preservation, and I'm all through this. The only sharing that has happened has been lived experience, that my core belief and the feedback that I'm getting is helping others.
And we're healers, but we can't help others to heal unless we've healed ourselves. And it's not, there's no end state, like, okay, now I'm done, I'm healed. And we are healing, we are stepping through, doing the work, showing up, being present with our grief, talking about it, socializing it, communicating it, so that we can heal and transmute and share that with others so they can do the same thing. So it's through our lived experience of healing and growing that we can then share that with others to heal and grow. So offering healing workshops, offering growth opportunities, because we've gone through that ourselves.
Brilliant. Brilliant. The way our brains work, just in terms of processing certain experiences, through this process of trauma, which is a process. And, grief is that trauma with no place to go, essentially. And one of the most powerful healing modalities in this process is this post-traumatic growth journey. Because who could possibly come up with the answer for why? Why did my child take his life? Why did this unfold like this? And we think, just as humans, if I could just get the answer to the why, then I'd be okay. Of course, that's not true, but we'll have that false conversation with ourselves. So one of the core elements of post-traumatic growth is at some level, you can't fake it till you make it. You truly have to believe at some point that you will learn and grow from this experience. And a lot of people will, just tell me, why'd this happen? What's the reason for this? And we've all heard like, well, everything has a reason. And yes, everything may have a reason, but we may not know it in this lifetime. So, or maybe as we take our last breath, we'll go like Steve Jobs, wow, wow, wow. And that will be, oh, now I get it, but didn't get it the whole journey up until that moment. So is there something that you can share with the viewers and listeners of this, the Endurant Movement podcast? What have you learned and how have you grown from the ashes of this experience?
Shall I go first? Sorry, I really, really resonated with what you were saying about this idea of why. And I think that's been the most profound growth lesson for me. Because if I remove myself from this situation and sort of imagine it as if it were a friend of mine or sort of outside my body, I look at the totality of it, and my belief is that I would be on a different journey. I would be on a different journey, especially if Anthony's life ended that night. I would be on a different journey of knowing why. What happened that night? What happened the night before? Who were you interacting with? What happened? Did someone hurt your feelings? That's always in my mind. But what I've come to realize is I will likely never know the why. And if I did, I don't know necessarily what good it would do me, right? So if there's a moment or a decision or a thing, knowing the why, is it creating more love for me inside, more connection, more understanding? And so this just came to me while you were talking, and I've never really had this epiphany. But what if the why was so that this ripple of love and connection could be better understood and felt? And I'm not suggesting that was a conscious decision by the human Anthony, but potentially on some soul level, and all of us that are here, the three of us certainly, and even these fine folks, Patrick and Matthew, we're all here for some reason as part of this greater why. And what if the why is so that something much greater could result from this horrible experience, so that people would be more connected, more in love, let go of the things that divide us, that we've come to realize really truly don't matter in the past few years, and things like that. Like, what if that's the why? And even if it's not the why, if I choose that that's the why, it brings me closer to love. It brings me closer to connection. It brings me closer to understanding other human beings in a way that I haven't before. And I generally think I'm a pretty good and loving, caring guy, but I do not understand humans the way I do now.
It was Doctors Tedeschi and Calhoun who really popularized PTG, post-traumatic growth, 20 years ago. But one of those core elements in that process is that it is a choice, right? You want to choose to stay in your trauma. That's a choice. You want to choose to grow and evolve and learn and heal. That's a choice. And no shame on whatever lane you choose, but something bigger than you can only be born if you're willing to choose the growth path, which is not necessarily like as entertaining and as perhaps clarifying as grieving and staying in trauma, because it forces you to step out of your self-pity, your self-assessment, and suddenly see something bigger than you.
Yes.
the Endurant Movement is so much bigger than the Tricarico family.
Oh, without question.
But could not have existed without the Tricarico family. And in previous episodes, we've sort of talked a little bit about Belina, your daughter, who a couple of years younger than Anthony. But as this power triad, maybe you could just talk a little bit about how the family has, I'm sure there have been some very, very intense grieving and healing sessions within the family. But when it comes to the Endurant Movement, was it like a bunch of superheroes saying, I'll take the pre, I'll take the post, I'll take it to the schools? Mm-hmm. What was that experience like?
It's been an evolution. I mean, with her coming up with the name and her choosing to step in and out of the movement itself, the momentum, choosing to step out and be just more of a teen living in, a high school experience, not being the face of the movement, and us giving her space to do that. So it's here for her when and how she wants to step in and out. I think the lesson, I just want to go back briefly
please,
to like,
I felt you.
No, that's okay. The important lesson that I would want to share with the families, the listeners, the viewers, is that we are multidimensional beings, and we are more powerful than we can possibly imagine. And it's a choice that we make to step into that power and to have the courage to let go of generational patterns of shame and fear, and to step into your power. Take some courage, but it's there and it's accessible to all of us. I feel like I've been given a gift in that, to see my potential. And the movement is a way that I can step into that power and to share that. But it's a really important message. I think that we are multidimensional, that we are so powerful.
And this speaks so interestingly to the fact that each of you within your family has been called to, you've been called to heal the planet. Belina has been called to be a teenager,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right? Get yanked out of that. Yeah. And then suddenly it's like, well, what happens 10 years from now? I missed my whole teen. So just by living that magnificent, being fully present.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in those early days at the hospital that she was the rock. So you probably have all three traded different roles within the family. I'm sure there are times you get to just be Samara.
Yeah.
You get to be Neal,
yeah.
And she gets to be Belina in her own right. She's so talented in terms of singing and dancing and so many other creative aspects. Has she talked about her connection to Anthony now? She have a spiritual connection as well during this period of time?
She does. She's a little more reserved and private about her protection of that relationship. I think it holds a sacred space for her, and she chooses to kind of keep it close. But she celebrates him and she mourns for him, and her life will never be the same as will ours. And having such an intense experience of loss at such a young age is going to profoundly impact her, and she will navigate and become stronger and more powerful because of it. And I think she sees glimpses of it, and she does have a connection with him. And I see her sort of preserving it in a more private way, which I respect.
Absolutely. And that's what's such a fascinating thing and will be fascinating over the years and seasons is it's so evolutional. Like we were blown away early on by this rockness that you describe. And she was always the one calling for, let's watch movies, let's watch, let's look at pictures and things like that.
Make the bracelets,
the rock garden. I mean, you were so right. It takes me back to that. And then we're in a season right now where I think if she could wave a magic wand and this all be over, and not only she not be the sister of the boy who took his life, but also the daughter of the parents who just totally dropped everything they were doing and are now on this path, she would take it, so we just hold space for her and see how the journey evolves, but it is not easy right now.
So the journey of healing as a family is really strengthened by the Endurant Movement.
Yeah.
So there are families who are watching this right now. What are the resources or just the insights, perhaps, that you can share? Because Endurant is continuing to create tools and processes to help people as well. But right now in these early stages, what are the insights that each one of you could share with people who are paying attention to this right now?
Be gentle. I mean, that's the first step. I think it's just starting with gentleness with yourself and your loved ones. Our society is moving at such a fast pace, and we need to slow down to heal and to listen and to heal, listen, and grow, really. I mean, for me, that's been such an important message, to slow down and get centered. But also, you get to define what is happening in your life. You are choosing your responses. You are choosing how you show up. You are empowered to do that. No one gets to tell me what my grief looks like. I felt like that was happening at a certain point, and I had to say, hold on a minute. This is my journey. If I'm showing up to a workout and I'm bubbly and happy and dancing around and my son has just died, that's my choice. You don't get to tell me how I show up. So you get to choose. You get to choose how you show up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Neal, can you?
I'll try and follow that. That was spot on. Grace is such an important word we take for granted, and not take for granted. I don't think any of us take for granted. I think we may struggle with what it really actually means, or more so how to do it, because that means it involves some level of self-love, which is harder than any other thing to do. I also see vulnerability as a superpower. So if you or anyone you know is struggling, ask for help, share your story. I just hear voices inside my head saying, well, what do I do if I don't have the community that you have or the friends that you have? I'm isolated, I'm alone, or I'm whatever. I promise you, if you just speak, if you step into that vulnerability as a superpower, your angels will show up from wherever they are. And they might not be the people that you thought. Yes, so many of the people in our lives that are closest to us have come up in the most profound ways. But what I could share with you is it's the people that I didn't know yet, or the people that maybe were acquaintances or on the periphery, if you will, that have had the most profound impact.
Because you opened yourself up more than your closed circle.
Right.
And you were willing to risk. That's a scary thing, to open yourself beyond.
And they're the ones who have the shared experience. So I also find myself potentially, and I know we do sometimes, disappointed in a certain way with those closest to us who we thought might come through in a certain way. And it's not about us. We don't know what they're going through, but if we weren't vulnerable, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to open up to people in our lives who have the shared experience, who shared with us what we needed to in that moment to heal and grow ourselves. So I would say grace, first and foremost, for yourself. Vulnerability is your superpower by asking for help and reaching out to those around you. And if you are stuck or you feel like no way, no how, then reach out to us, reach out to Samara or me and the Endurant Movement, because we are that safe place. We've had that experience. Once you can feel like you're not terminally unique, the idea and the possibilities open up in the most profound ways.
And I just want to add, we do have a plethora of resources on our website. And if you're struggling, and like, I don't like to talk on the phone, but I didn't know this, that you can text 988. 988 is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to be feeling suicidal, but if you are, 988 is there for you, not just as a phone call, but also you can text. Like, there is someone on the other end. You are never alone. You always have someone to support and love you. And it's a really important message to know that there is always a solution. The solutions are there. The answers are there. They're here. We just have to be open to them, be open to the possibility.
And if you don't mind, I might add a question for you that you might have had for yourself. But if you said if parents or teens or individuals who are consuming this need help, what would we recommend or what we could provide? Another powerful question is for any of you teens, adults, viewers, listeners who want to help, please also reach out to us. This whole movement is, the premise of it is sacred storytelling through shared experiences. We want to know your experiences. We want to share them with the world in the most meaningful way to help all of us feel less other, less terminally unique, and more a part of. And that's an important component to this movement.
Yeah, your voice matters.
And so probably the initial feeling that most people have will be similar to the feelings that you had, which at least on the surface we're alone in this thing.
Yeah, isolate, hide.
Right. And the endurant movement is an important message to anyone out there who feels that they are alone to reach out and become a part of this movement, because you will be received open arms. Yes, that's number one. And you will probably begin your healing journey with the Endurant Movement as a component of that process. We've spent a lot of time really diving deep into all the different aspects from the origin story to your relationships with Anthony, to the signs, to the mysticism, to the grieving, to the trauma, to the post-traumatic growth. If Anthony was here right now, what would he say?
Well, he is here. And I think he brings laughter and light and love and joy. I think he says, keep going. Yeah. And thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you.
And I think he's saying, great job, Mom and Dad. Like, we're doing it and keep going. Like, don't stop too long to celebrate, but keep going. I feel him here in a big way right next to you. And I think he's very proud, happy, and like no rest, no breaks. Like,
right.
Lives are at stake. Keep going.
Right. You'd say, great. What else you got?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Yes, I've always felt his presence throughout our conversations. Even when we're not talking, I feel that deep connection. Thank you for baring your souls. Thank you for having some very, very difficult conversations. Thank you for co-creating with Anthony the Endurant Movement. And thank you for inviting me to participate in this conversation with you. It's been so beautiful and moving for me to be a part of getting the message out there and facilitating you guys sharing your stories. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you both so much. And I love you too, Aunt, wherever you are. And deep gratitude.
Thank you, DavidJi.
Thank you so
and
much.
we're so grateful for you. There's no one on the planet or in the universe that could have unlocked this story in the way that you have over these past few episodes. And we knew you could, and you've done such a tremendous job on that. And we're so very grateful. And we're grateful for you, new dear audience, for journeying with us on these first few episodes together, where we build this foundation and understand that, people don't resonate so much with the transformation as they do without first understanding the struggle. And we hope that by participating and sitting with us for these first few episodes and understanding the trauma and understanding the loss and the grief and the pain and witnessing and experiencing all of the beautiful things that have come out of that possibility for struggle to transformation also exists for you. And where we go from here now with the show is bringing experts, guides, parents, teachers. We talked about the teen voices to you over the course of these episodes and seasons together, so that we'll provide you the space and place to understand how you too can grow through your most darkest times. And we look forward to seeing you in future episodes. And most importantly, we look forward to the youth getting started and what they're going to bring and the transformation that they're going to share and provide through this journey that is the Endurant Show. Thank you.
Keep growing. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Endurant Show. If this conversation moved you, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. To view the conversations, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And to be a part of the community, follow us at Endurant Movement. And lastly, if you feel called to support the movement and help us ensure no teen ever feels alone again, visit endurantmovement.org to learn more, and if you can, make a donation. Together we can create lasting change, one conversation, one connection at a time.